Alright, welcome back guys to another weekly manga review video, and I have to say we got 3 awesome chapters this week for Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. All 3 were really good in my opinion. Just a great week for the mangas. So we start off with Naruto, chapter 588, Bearing the Shadows. And it starts off, we see Itachi. He's going to stop the Ito Tensei technique, which will cause him to disappear also. So Sasuke says he still can't forgive Konoha. Itachi says the one who can change him is no longer him, referencing Naruto being the one who can change him. And he says this is the least he can do. So while he's trying to stop the Jutsu, we see the Kages. They're still fighting Madara and his Susanoo army. Mizukage and Gaara are overwhelmed. Tsunade is injured. The Raikage gets caught in a genjutsu, and then we see Onoki protect Raikage from the Susanoo army's swords with a stone fist, and then he stops the genjutsu placed on him. The 5 Kages stand together, and Madara realizes that he has to stop Onoki first. Onoki fires another disintegrating cube. The others combine attacks to form this electrical water dragon that has Gaara's sand hidden within it. And they use the sand to trap Madara, and they think they can seal him now. However, Madara releases his ultimate jutsu, I guess, or at least one of them, a perfect form Susanoo. And he decides that he's going to fight at full strength now, since they are powerful Kages. So before, all the stuff he's been doing wasn't even at full strength. So now he's going to go all out. He creates the perfect form Susanoo, which is kind of just a really big 4-armed monster. And I thought it was a cool chapter, and this was an awesome scene. However, I'm wondering what's going to happen, because if Itachi is about to stop the technique that brings the dead back to life, then Madara is just going to disappear with it. So I'm curious to see where they go with this, but as far as action, we got a lot of that in this chapter, so I was happy with that. Then on to Bleach, chapter 494, the closing chapter, part 1. We see these pillars of light, or blue flame, strike down all over Soul Society. We see the captains, the vice captains, running out to see what's going on, including Yamamoto. We actually meet some new characters here. We meet the 3rd seat of the 1st Division, the 3rd, 5th, and 6th seat of the 3rd Division. We see a Quincy in the flames. And as the captains, Kira and the 3rd Division, are approaching, Kira says it's a Quincy attack, and then we just see this beam fly out of the flame, and Kira gets his arm completely blown off. He gets a huge hole blown through his body, and he just collapses. This was an awesome scene here. So the others bring out their shikais, but the Quincy just rushes past them, slams their heads into the ground. He takes his hood off and says, "Sorry, we were ordered to kill everyone." So this was a pretty badass scene here. We see the faces of some of the Quincy. One has a mohawk. One looks kind of like Yami from the Huwakmondo arc. One looks older with glasses. One looks kind of like a little kid. And one has long black hair with a mouthpiece with spikes on it. That was a pretty cool character design. One of them says, "Fear us, Shinigami. The stern Ritter will purify you." So this was a pretty badass chapter all around so far. I really like this one. We see the captains and the vice captains rushing out to help. Then we see that scientist guy who works with Kurotsuchi, who has the horns. He's reporting on the deaths of all the people who have died so far, and he says there's no way we can defeat them. And then we see a panel of Ichigo still fighting Opie, I assume. So that was it. That was the closing scene of the manga this week, and I thought it was great. And I really am glad they've pushed the Quincy's as a strong powerhouse so far. They need to keep these guys looking strong, because they have a problem sometimes with Ichigo being so overpowered and not really having a lot for the other people to do. So I'm hoping that something happens with Opie where he can defeat Ichigo, so he doesn't just come to Soul Society and save everybody like usual. I would like to see a little bit more drama happen than just the typical. So I'm glad we got to see the Quincy's here looking really badass. And hopefully they continue that next week. And like I said before when I was praising the Bleach chapters so far, this arc has been moving really quickly. A great pace so far, and I really like it. Not a lot of downtime at all, just constant moving forward with the story. So that was good. And this is another great chapter. So then we get One Piece chapter 669, Missions Start. Excuse me. The cover page is one of those fan submitted ideas, I think. They do these occasionally. Then we see Zoro, Sanji, and Nami's body, and Brook. They wake up. We see a flashback of what knocked them out. The Yetis shot them with poison gas, and then they fell off a cliff. And just before Zoro passed out, they were going to land on the icicle pincushion. Zoro was able to cut it in half to save them. And then he passed out like the rest. When the henchmen stand over them to collect the bodies, Sanji wakes up, he beats them up. They find the samurai, who is frozen. He couldn't use his ability because his torso must be in the lake. And because he's a devil fruit user, any part of his body being submerged in seawater is going to completely nullify his powers. So that's the samurai just became paralyzed, and he just froze because his body, they assume, is in the lake. So Sanji says he's trying to help him so he can beat him up afterwards, and they see a pack of centaurs running at them, and then we see the monster slime, a mountain of the slime in the distance. Then it cuts to Caesar. Caesar says that the slime is what caused the disaster on Punk Hazard all those years ago, and that he gave it a form and kept it. He couldn't get rid of it. He's really sick. He created this poison gas, and he was able to turn it into a shape, which was the slime, and he actually kept it to use later on. Then we see Law and Chopper. They warp to the back of Caesar's lab. Chopper asks why Law can't just beat up Caesar since he's so powerful, and Law says he has a problem that won't allow him to do that. So we still have a mystery of why Law can't just defeat Caesar. He says he's going to lure Caesar out of the lab while Chopper investigates the drugs. Then we see Luffy, Frankie, and Robin show up where Smoker, Tashigi, the G5, they're all fighting the centaurs. We just see like a person with wings dropping them off. At first I thought it was that girl who was working with Caesar, but it was Robin using her devil fruit powers to create wings, and she drops off Luffy and Frankie, and Luffy stands up and he calls out Caesar, and we see Law turn and say, that idiot, he wasn't supposed to fight everyone. And that was it. That was the end of the chapter. So this was also really good. Zoro, Sanji, and Nami's body, and Brook are probably going to get into a fight with the giant slime. And then Luffy, Frankie, and Robin are going to start fighting probably with the G5 at first. I'm not really sure what they're going to do with this yet. And I guess just Nami and Sanji's body and Chopper are back with the kids, and Usopp. So yeah, this was another cool chapter, and it's getting closer and closer, and I'm excited to see Caesar actually have a fight and use his devil fruit powers. So a lot of cool action in this chapter. All three mangas were really great this week. If you haven't read them, check them out. They're really good chapters. And that's it, guys. That's my review of this week's manga chapters. Leave your thoughts on in the comments below, and thanks for watching. Bye.